Coming up on a newscast, Squid Game makes history at the 74th Primetime Emmys. Hwang Dong-hyuk won Outstanding Directing for a Drama Series, and Lee Jung-jae clinched Best Actor. U.S. President Joe Biden signed an executive order to boost domestic manufacturing of biotech products. The move is aimed at countering China's growing presence in the industry, but it may also impact South Korean companies. Mourners have already started camping out ahead of the lying-in state procession of Queen Elizabeth II. It will start at Buckingham Palace on Wednesday afternoon, local time. Hello, your week's off to a smooth start. I'm Daniel Che. Let's begin with our top story. At the 74th Primetime Emmy Awards, Squid Game director won Outstanding Directing for a Drama Series. Lee Jung-jae won Best Actor. This comes after the Netflix show already bagged 4 Primetime Creative Arts Emmys. Kim Hyun-sung starts us off.
Squid Game has bagged 2 more wins at the Emmy Awards. Director Hwang Dong-hyuk is bringing home the Outstanding Directing for a Drama Series honor, while lead actor Lee Jung-jae clinched the award for Best Actor in Drama. Director Hwang is the first Korean and first director of a non-English series to win an Emmy title for Best Directing. And Lee Jung-jae wrote history as the first Asian to win an Emmy as the lead actor.
Now I'm looking forward to coming up with lots of ideas and working on them freely so they can be enjoyed by many people all around the world.
The 74th Primetime Emmy Awards kicked off in LA at 6 p.m. Monday local time. At the start of the evening, the cast and crew of Squid Game were waiting for announcements in a total of 6 categories. Jung Woo-yeon, who played Kang Se-byuk, was up for Outstanding Supporting Actress, while actor Park Hae-soo, who played Cho Sang-woo, and Oh Young-soo, who played Oh Il-nam, were both nominated for the Outstanding Supporting Actor. All are to return empty-handed. The show was also nominated for Best Writing and for the Emmy's crown jewel Outstanding Drama Series. But with Monday's wins, Squid Game now has a total of 6 Emmy Awards and 14 nominations. Earlier this month, the show secured the 4 other Emmys during the Primetime Creative Arts Emmy Awards, which honors stellar artistic and technical achievements. And as the first non-English series to win an Emmy, the history-making Squid Game is to return soon, with the director Hwang Dong-hyuk confirming plans for Season 2. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News.
Squid Game has been grabbing global attention and fans are counting the hours for the next season to start. There have been several shows in the past with similar world building and stories, so what exactly is the driving force behind the K-drama's explosive success? Kim Jong-soo provides a deeper analysis.
The hype is real. 6 Emmy Awards. And just a few days earlier, Los Angeles had proclaimed September 17th as Squid Game Day. So we just can't get enough of the show. But why? We asked some experts what they make of Squid Game's success. Associate Professor Hong Kyung-soo of Aju University said not only is it a really well-made drama, but that it also resonates somehow with the world despite the gap in language and culture.
We can say that the subject matter was very good. I think it gained sympathy from people all over the world because it reflects not only the situation in Korea, but also the global phenomenon of wealth polarization and the harsh reality of the fight for survival among the underprivileged.
Another expert, Assistant Professor An Jin-kyung of Gangnam University, said that Squid Game, while pointing out some realities of life in South Korea, also achieved a level of universality. She added that although the show might have looked very foreign to viewers, it would have resonated with them nonetheless through similarities in cultural background.
I think it's possible some viewers thought, oh wow, we have similar games, as they watched these games that were familiar yet unfamiliar, like the red light, green light game. So I think there are parts that overlap in this way, whether they are games or hobbies that can be enjoyed universally or similar structures in the story.
The experts said that to produce more content like Squid Game will require a deep understanding of human nature. By exploring human nature and human responses to certain universal social problems, content can be created that transcends cultural differences. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
On Tuesday, following Chuseok, which involved mass exodus across the country, the daily COVID-19 tally stood at 57,000, up more than 20,000 from yesterday, mainly due to more testing. 35 related deaths, 547 severely ill patients. Authorities could review lifting various quarantine measures as case numbers decline. Many experts believe masks could come off next spring. Those who reserve SkyCoV-1, South Korea's first domestically produced coronavirus vaccine, can get their shots starting today. So far, those spots have been reserved by just 67 people. A simultaneous outbreak of COVID-19 and the flu can be expected this fall, partly due to waning immunity to both diseases. As part of preventive measures, experts call for a comprehensive medical response system. Lee Seung-jae has more on the twindemic warning.
According to data compiled by the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, the number of patients displaying flu symptoms came to 4.7 for every 1,000 outpatients between August 28th and September 3rd. The figure shows a steady increase from the 3.3 reported 4 weeks earlier. With the continuous rise in the number of flu patients and a waning immunity on COVID-19, health experts warn that a simultaneous outbreak of COVID-19 and seasonal influenza, dubbed a twindemic, could hit South Korea over this fall and winter. And now, they're calling for a thorough medical response system to be in place in the event of such an outbreak. Experts say a COVID-19 surge coinciding with the spread of flu could cause major confusion and could result in a rapid increase of serious cases that could affect the medical system nationwide. One solution, they say, is the need for a PCR test designed to detect the flu and COVID-19 at the same time, as antigen tests have limitations. And this is all the more important as there are individual treatments in place for both COVID-19 and the flu. With the country set to enter the first winter season without social distancing rules since the COVID-19 outbreak, experts are also calling for a vaccination plan for people to be able to get the COVID-19 and flu vaccines together. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
U.S. President Joe Biden signed an executive order to boost domestic manufacturing of biotech products. While the move is aimed at countering China's growing presence in the industry, it could also hurt South Korean companies. Choi Min-jung explains further.
The United States is taking further action to strengthen its domestic manufacturing, this time in the biotech industry. U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday signed an executive order to launch a national biotechnology and biomanufacturing initiative. The White House says the initiative aims to expand domestic biomanufacturing capacity so that what's invented in the U.S. is made in the U.S. as well.
We need to manufacture advanced biotechnologies here in the United States. That's why today I signed an executive order that directs the federal government to ensure biotechnologies invented in the United States of America are made in the United States of America.
The White House also added that this will keep prices low and supply chains strong. However, this doesn't seem to be its only goal. The act is also aimed at reducing the country's reliance on China. U.S. national security and intelligence officials have been growingly concerned with Beijing's aggressive investment in biotech, saying it poses risks to U.S. leadership and competitiveness. The initiative may also impact related companies in South Korea.
First of all, South Korea has global competitiveness in terms of providing manufacturing services. However, if the U.S. was to strengthen domestic manufacturing, the competitiveness of Korean companies like Samsung Biologics could be weakened.
On the other hand, with China as South Korea's biggest competitor, there are also views that the initiative may even benefit Korean companies.
If South Korea makes more diplomatic and industrial efforts, there could be more advantages. So there are both pros and cons.
The latest initiative comes following Biden's push to bolster domestic manufacturing of batteries and semiconductors, which is already a concern for South Korean companies. The White House is set to discuss and announce further details on the biomanufacturing initiative, including its investment plans, on Wednesday. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
South Korea aims to stabilize supply chains in key industries by taking part in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy held a briefing after the first in-person IPEF ministerial meeting, which was held in LA last week. 14 countries discussed ways to cooperate amid economic uncertainties and agreed on a joint declaration of 4 pillars, including trade, supply chains, clean energy, and anti-corruption. Seoul plans to share its decarbonization tech with members while expanding opportunities for Korean companies to advance into overseas markets. Joining the U.S.-led pact is looked to provide improvements in trade as the alliance aims to engage in new types of models like the digital economy and climate change. The UN administration is pushing for stronger fiscal rules. The finance chief emphasized these should be enforced as soon as they are made into law. The minister's goal is keeping the deficit-to-GDP ratio under 3%. Ji-young has the details.
Amid concerns that South Korea's national debt could be getting out of control, the government is pushing to tighten its belt with stronger fiscal rules. At an emergency economic ministers meeting on Tuesday, Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho said the new rules to rein in the country's spending should be put into effect as soon as the legislation process is complete at the National Assembly.
The new fiscal rules will be included in the National Finance Act in order for them to be legally binding. As soon as they are passed at the National Assembly, they will be applied to the following budget bill.
Under the new rules, the Finance Ministry aims to keep the ratio of the country's deficit to gross domestic product at under 3%. In other words, each year's government spending minus income, excluding certain programs, cannot be more than 3% of GDP. This is down from about 5% set for this year. And if the debt-to-GDP ratio, a barometer for the country's ability to pay back its debts, exceeds 60%, the government is expected to adjust that target to 2% or less. However, exceptions will be made in times of war, disaster, or economic crisis. With roughly $730 billion in outstanding debt, the national debt-to-GDP ratio is expected to be around 50% this year. This is up from 35.9% in 2018, led higher mostly by the government's expansionary fiscal policy to deal with the fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. Currently, among the 38 OECD member countries, South Korea and Turkey are only countries that do not apply fiscal rules. The previous administration had also come up with similar fiscal rules, but they were not put into law because they were proposed with a 3-year grace period. An expert says the government should keep the national debt in check.
It is dangerous to significantly expand the fiscal budget amid soaring inflationary pressure. However, the government should keep supporting the socially vulnerable and low-income households with the increase in the budget.
Ji-young, Arirang News.
The People Power Party launched a new emergency leadership following a court suspension that prompted a swift dissolution of the previous version. But the ruling bloc may not be out of the woods yet, as a court injunction could put a brake on the developments again. Lee Kyung-eun has the latest.
The ruling People Power Party's emergency leadership is ready to be up and running again. New interim leader Chung Jin-seok completed the formation of a fresh new emergency committee following the early dissolution of his predecessor.
We, as the ruling party with a great deal of responsibility over state affairs, will swiftly work to stabilize the party issues and achieve the politics for the people, which tackles issues affecting their daily lives.
Lawmaker Chun Joo-hae, who joined at the last minute due to the resignation of the initial appointee, is the only member who was part of the previous emergency committee. The party says she fulfills the theme of regional diversity, having her roots in the Conservative Party's rival Liberal stronghold in the Southwest. And also for a diverse range of background, 3 members who are not PPP lawmakers have been appointed, including President Yoon's former campaign spokesperson Kim Byung-min. Lastly, 2 permanent positions, full leader and policy chief. Those 2 seats are currently vacant due to the resignation of full leader Kwon Song-dong. A new full leader will be elected on Monday and appoint policy chief, paving the way for a complete leadership reset. However, the new leadership is already looking at a rocky road ahead due to a series of injunctions filed by ex-chairman Lee Jun-seok, who automatically loses his post upon the launching of emergency leadership. His first injunction already prompted the initial emergency leadership to dissolve. The party, in response, have revised its charter aimed at avoiding the legal flaws cited in the court decision. And Wednesday, we'll see a hearing for an injunction seeking to nullify those very revisions, which Lee says are cheating. The party insists it falls into the realm of party autonomy, which should be free from the judiciary branch. The suspension of the new emergency leadership was also to be reviewed on the same day, but has been postponed to the 28th upon the party's request for more time to prepare. Young-eun, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the Democratic Party launched a committee to focus on the current economic crisis. The officials are expected to devise measures to deal with issues caused by the exchange rate, soaring inflation, and high interest rates. The main opposition bloc's chair pointed to stabilizing inflation and initiating a currency swap with the U.S. as top priorities. Also during the session, Lee Jae-myung asked for a meeting with President Yoon to freely discuss ways to improve the livelihoods of the people. Last week, North Korea passed a new law that hinted at the possibility of preemptive nuclear strikes. In response, Seoul's defense ministry warned the regime that such a move will only lead to self-destruction. Bae Eun-ji has the full story.
Seoul's defense ministry has sent a clear warning to North Korea after the regime passed a law on its nuclear policy last week that authorizes the use of its nuclear weapons preemptively.
North Korea will face overwhelming responses from South Korea and the U.S. if it attempts to use nuclear weapons. We are warning North Korea that this will lead to a path of self-destruction for the regime.
North Korea's state-run Korean Central News Agency said last Thursday that its parliament passed a law that allows the use of nuclear weapons preemptively, should the regime be about to face a nuclear strike itself. This permits the North's military to execute nuclear strikes if its leadership comes under attack. In response, Seoul's Unification Ministry also stressed that it's not willing to make any changes to its denuclearization policy. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, an official from the ministry said although Kim Jong-un has expressed strong disapproval about denuclearization, South Korea will continue to work on creating an environment where the North will give up its nuclear weapons. The official also said the regime needs to realize that this kind of usage of nuclear arms not only poses a threat to the Korean peninsula, but also has a negative impact on the North's already struggling economy. The warning from South Korea also comes at a time when North Korea appears to have completed its preparations to conduct a nuclear test for the first time since 2017. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
A former health officer at the UNICEF's office in Pyongyang believes the regime is likely to accept vaccines from China, probably those from Sinopharm or Sinovac. Nagji Shafik told Radio Free Asia on Monday that Beijing is capable of assisting with the necessary transportation, distribution, and maintenance of cold chain infrastructure. He also said the reclusive state has what it takes to carry out an inoculation program, mentioning past instances of accepting such aid from UNICEF, the WHO, and the EU. North Korea's leader suggested last week that vaccines would be administered in a speech to the Supreme People's Assembly. Queen Elizabeth II will be taken from Edinburgh on Tuesday ahead of her state funeral at Westminster Abbey on September 19th. The Queen's coffin will land in London at 7 p.m. on Tuesday and will be taken to Buckingham Palace. From 5 p.m. on Wednesday, then it will be placed in Westminster Hall, where the general public can pay tribute. Officials expect around 750,000 to descend on the Queen's lying-in state, and queues to last up to 12 hours. It ends at 6:30 a.m. next Monday, London time, on the day of the funeral. Her funeral will mark the end of the 10-day period of national mourning and will be a public holiday across the UK. Elsewhere around the world, President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country is gaining momentum in the war. He claims Ukrainian forces have retaken some 6,000 square kilometers of territory from Russia this month alone. Shin Se-byuk brings the updates.
Ukraine troops continue to win back territory from Russia as they continue with their counteroffensive. In his late address on Monday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky highlighted the country's recent territorial gains.
Since the first days of September and until today, our warriors have liberated more than 6,000 square kilometers of the territory of Ukraine in the south and in the east. The advances of our forces continue.
Since the Russian offensive first began in late February, Russia has taken control of around a fifth of Ukraine, or about 120,000 square kilometers. Last Thursday, Zelensky said Ukrainian forces had retaken 1,000 square kilometers. On Sunday, it tripled to 3,000. And on Monday, some 6,000 square kilometers of Russian-held territory has been reclaimed, the size that's approximately equivalent to the combined area of the West Bank and Gaza. Moscow has admitted losing key cities in the northeastern Kharkiv region, but described its troop withdrawal in recent days as a regrouping with the aim of focusing on the Luhansk and Donetsk region. Meanwhile, President Zelensky, in the same speech, called on the West to speed up deliveries of weapon systems. The Western allies, including the U.S. and the UK, have pledged to supply Ukraine with more than $16 billion worth of weapons. However, according to a German think tank, only half of that has been delivered so far due to logistical challenges and concerns among the allies that their own stocks are running low. 신세벽, Arirang News.
Jean-Luc Godard, the godfather of France's new wave cinema scene, died on Tuesday. The legendary filmmaker was 91. According to a statement released by his family, Godard died peacefully at home and there will be no official ceremony. The French-Swiss director was a key figure in the Nouvelle Vague, or New Wave, the movement that revolutionized cinema in the late 1950s and 60s. His works influenced many Hollywood big names, including Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. Since debuting in 1960 with Breathless, Godard had more than 100 films to his name. His most recent work, The Image Book, was released in 2018.
Much of South Korea will be experiencing rain until the morning hours tomorrow. This time, rain will be concentrated across western regions. For mountainous regions of Jeju Island, which are under the indirect influence of Typhoon Moifa, heavy downpours of up to 120 millimeters are in the forecast. The west coast and Jeollanam-do province will see about 50 millimeters. Some light raindrops are expected for the Seoul metropolitan area as well. As for the projected pathway of the typhoon, Moifa will not pass through South Korea. Instead, it is on track to pass near Shanghai, China around late Wednesday. It will then reach near Beijing around Friday before it dissipates completely. And some high waves and gusty winds are expected for Jeju Island and the surrounding regions. For those across the coastlines, please stay away from breakwaters or piers. And morning lows in Seoul and Gwangju will be starting off at 21 degrees Celsius. As for the daily highs, Seoul will be reaching 26 degrees, Gwangju 30, Daegu and Busan will be reaching 27 degrees. After the rain, a high-pressure system will settle in, bringing temperatures to near 29 degrees in Seoul. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that's all from us. As always, thank you for watching.
the co-prosperity of the international logistics community. The 2022 FIATA World Congress will be held in Busan from September